Austin numbers come out and it is looking crazy again. Jeremy Knight, the Night Group, your favorite Austin realtor. Yep, that's right. The median for Austin just came out at 565 and the MSA right at 500,000, which means that the MSA is actually catching up to the Austin area numbers. Pretty much what I've been telling you is that everybody's moving outside of Austin, causing those prices to go up. So where do people go from there? They go further out. Drop a comment below before we go any further, because today we're going to talk about two things that you wanted from this poll: the market outlook for Austin and what's going on in the market in general. So we're going to talk about those two things, but I want to hear from you. Drop a comment below. I want to hear from you. What do you think's going on? And hey, how do you like the beard? Should we keep this beard or no? Trust me, I read the comments, and so let's put a poll in the comments for you. Beard yes, beard no. All right, here we go. So there's some things I like to look at when we look at these numbers. Number one, I look at the new build inventory and the new build sales. And new build sales were a little bit higher last month, and I think that's what caused prices to go up even further. Was one thing to think about when we're looking at the new build inventory is that a lot of these homes were put under contract last year. So they actually kind of pulled down the data a little bit sometimes, or if like a new build fell out of contract and a builder put a higher price on it, which I saw this week. I looked at a home that literally was priced at $900,000. The buyer fell out of it. I went to write an offer on it for myself, legitimately. It was at 1.2 million, and I'm going, this house isn't worth 1.2 million. I know it's brand new, it's a beautiful yard, but this house is a 950 house at best. Nope, that one actually sold, and it wasn't to me because I did what I told my buyers not to do, and I drug my feet on writing an offer. So one thing to keep in mind too is you keep hearing that sales are dropping, sales are declining, sales are declining. And while that's true, if you look at the February numbers, sales volume was actually up 2%. Now you're saying, Jeremy, 2% isn't very much. It is actually quite a bit when you're looking at 0.3 months of inventory, and that's what we're seeing in the market. Is there's not a lot of inventory. Days on market still dropping. So if you are writing offers in this market, just know that things aren't lasting as long. If you're a seller, prices are going up. Definitely don't overprice. But if you're a homeowner, this is something that's I think is going to be a concern for a lot of homeowners. These prices, yes, we're not as high as last year's peak at 575 yet, but the tax district will go and look at those medians of everything that's really high, and they're going to use that to raise your taxes as high as they can. Yes, I know there's a cap at 10, 20% that they can cap at, but I've seen on my taxes alone, last year they tried to raise them 23%. And I keep seeing this comment, oh, these landlords are just raising prices, and you're seeing that in the market that rental rates are going up. Well, the thing with rental rates going up is on my rental property, they tried to raise my taxes 23% last year on one of my rental properties. So yes, landlords are raising their prices, and that's why we're seeing, and I tell people that when they're saying the market's going to crash because rental rates haven't caught up to prices yet, well, it's a lagging indicator. It takes a full year. Taxes need to come out. It takes a while. So yeah, so it's no surprise to me that we're seeing 25, 35% increases. Investors that purchase homes, they're seeing their taxes go up, and they're going to go up even higher this year. So in fact, if we look at the market right now, we saw about 2,200 homes on our MLS last week. It's Monday, so I'm trying to get this video out as fast as I can. And we've already seen about 150 of those drop off, or about 2,060 units right now. So I imagine by tomorrow, we'll be back down in the 1,850, 1,800 range. So inventory is slightly coming up in the Austin area, but it's not. And so what you're seeing as the cause of that is that prices are still increasing. Now I made this chart so you can see where prices are compared to last year. I took off 2020 because 2020 was just such a sporadic year. But if you're looking at the 2019 versus 2021, you can see that our trends are pretty close. And if you look at the start of 2022, we're looking a little closer to those 2019 numbers, about a 15,000 gain between January and February. Whereas we look at 2021, we went from 455 to 491. I mean, we almost went up $40,000 right there. So that's a pretty big jump from 1 month. Now, if we look from February to March, that's another pretty big jump. I don't think we're going to see those numbers. Now, look, you're telling why we're going to see those numbers. Number one, interest rates are coming up. Right now, if we look at interest rates, they're about 4.5%, which is just crazy. And I think that's leaning into a lot of these buyers who are saying, you know what, I'm going to hold off. And if we look at this article from Market Watch, now be very careful when you're looking at the actual headlines and make sure you actually read what's going on, because I'm going to show you two articles right here that the headlines are quite misleading compared to the body of what's happening, right? So this right here, the housing market is in the early stages of a substantial downshift, and they're saying sales may drop by 25%. But that doesn't mean that prices are coming down. So if you're looking at this, sales dropping, yeah. If we look at January sales were down. February were up slightly. We might see, and a lot of that has to do with just the fact that there's very little inventory. But if you read this article, it doesn't say anything about prices going down. It's more about the fact that sales will drop. And that's partly to do with a lot of the things happening in the market, right? Gas prices are going up, inflation, interest rates, buyers are sitting and going, even with this saying sales dropping, it's saying that we're just not going to have as strong of a spring. And based on what I'm seeing so far for the charts, yeah, we're already starting a little bit more flat going into 2022 than we are going into 2021. But there's something sneaky about this that I need to tell you. So I went through and I was like, let me look at the data a little bit more. If you look at zip code by zip code, we're seeing 50% gains in specific zip codes year over year. Here's a primary example. 78739, my zip code, Circle C. You're looking at 35% year over year. Now, if you look at the Austin numbers, there was only 15% increase. If you look at residential existing home, 40% increase. So that's a lot higher than that 15%. And another one that I like to look at is 78704, which is the heart of the Austin area. We're seeing sales prices up 54% and existing home up 46%. I mean, what's really driving that is new construction is up 119%, which is pretty crazy. I remember helping a client buy a $2.3 million home in 78704 last year, and we thought that was pretty high. That same home being built right now is probably going to list in a $3 million range. So yeah, they've gained a lot of equity. But one question I constantly get is, how much over list price are homes going for? Let me give you an example. My team just put 2 homes under contract this week under $500,000, which is fantastic. But then also listed a home in New Braunfels for $665,000. All my recent listings have seen a minimum of about $50,000 over list price, giving free lease backs, sometimes paying for title, sometimes paying for a lot of things that buyers would typically not pay for. So I would say on average, what I'm seeing is about 50,000 to 60,000 over. But remember earlier I told you about that home that was $200,000 higher than 950 that was trying to sell for 1.225. Well, what I'm seeing in the higher dollar market, so the 1.5, 1.9, we looked at a $1.9 million home that's in crazy multiple offers right now. So stuff like that, what I'm seeing close for is $200,000 to $300,000 over list price. Now you're thinking, Jeremy, that's crazy. But there's articles that have been coming out talking about the low inventory in the luxury market. And that's true because there's so little inventory in the luxury market. But when people are looking in that luxury market, sometimes they have a little bit more flexibility to go higher. So yeah, I am seeing stuff like on average it's listing at 1.5, selling for 1.7 plus. Yeah, if we look at this one article that talks about the housing market being 25% lower, that doesn't mean prices. So I think a lot of buyers are going to sit tight and wait towards the end of the spring market and buy then, but that doesn't necessarily mean prices will be lower. It just means that sales will be lower and potentially there'll be a little less demand in the market. In fact, I said on this channel, if you're going to wait till the end of July, August, September to buy, prices will be higher in my estimation, yet there'll be a little less fighting. So you're not going to be 50, 60, 75,000 over list price or $200,000 over list price. One other article I told you about that I thought was going to be interesting was foreclosures are on the rise, Market Watch. I think if you read Market Watch, you really have to be careful and read their headlines and actually read the information, because right off the bat in the very first paragraph, they even say that while foreclosures are up 70%, they're still 45% down lower month over month. So be careful if you think that you're going to buy a foreclosure this year. There's really not that many foreclosures out there yet. So be careful if you think that you're going to be able to buy up one of those really cool foreclosures this year. I just don't think it's going to happen. Not in the Austin market. So you're going to ask me, Jeremy, what's going to happen in this market? Are prices going to get better? I think this year is definitely not going to be as crazy as last year, but inventory is still so low. I just don't see prices falling off the board like some people are anticipating. If inventory does increase, then yes, prices will definitely slow down a little bit, or they might turn. I think we'll definitely see a softening towards the middle of the year as that spring demand ends. And so if you are buying, I would recommend maybe waiting till then. If not, jump in the market right now. Sellers, yeah, I put a whole video about this a couple weeks ago, so go watch that video. But if we look at the Austin Business Journal, I mean, there's more and more businesses acquiring land in Austin, bringing jobs here. So Jeremy Knight, the Knight Group, beard, no beard, want to hear from you in the comments. What do you think? What's going to happen in the market? Drop a comment below. Make sure you subscribe too.